Well, our guest this evening is Christian recording artist Jeanne Marie. In her debut CD, Destiny, Jeanne Marie uses music to bring the message of the gospel to young people and to be a positive influence in their lives. After serving 5 years in inner city missions and seeing the pain, struggles, and trials that these children of God were living in, Jeanne Marie chose her music as a way to reach some of today's young people. Let's take a listen to Jeanne Marie.
It's way too easy to lose myself in this 9 to 5. I've been working so hard just to get by. Every day is the same with no end in sight. And I look up to the sky and ask why.
There is Jeanne Marie from her album Destiny. That song is called Faith. Welcome to the Busted Halo Show, Jeanne Marie.
Hello, how are you tonight?
You are rocking.
Thanks.
Now that's you and a guy named Free, right?
Yeah.
He's doing the rapping.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I'm not really a rapper. So.
But you sound good on the singing part, I'll have to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, God bless you. This is an exciting time for you. The CD just came out on 1/11/11.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it easy to remember when the CD came out. Yeah. And how's it going for you, this life of being a Christian music artist?
It's really great. God's blessing our ministry, and, we're just trying to keep it God-centered so that he will be honored through what we're doing.
So far, seems to be the case.
Yes.
Well, tell us how this came about, because I know you were working in inner city ministry, really up close and personal with kids. You guys are in the Philadelphia area, right?
Yeah.
So there's probably plenty of need. There's plenty of kids in the inner city who could use God. First of all, tell me what that was like. What drew you to that sort of ministry? You grew up more in the suburbs, but really were drawn to the city.
Yeah. It was just a God thing. I was in high school, and I went on a missions trip to Philadelphia area with my youth group, and I just fell in love with it. And I knew from that moment on that these were the kids that, I needed to reach, and this is where there was such a need for God in the city that I made that decision at around 15, and I never really looked back. So went through college and did ministry through college, and then worked full-time in it, and just loved every second of it.
And what sort of work, when you say working with inner city kids, what were you doing?
It was an after-school program, so we would do homework help and a little Bible lesson and crafts, and it was a free program for the kids so that they could come after school. They had somewhere to go and that kind of thing. And
a lot of kids, I would imagine, came through there.
Yeah, there were tons, and it was great. It was an awesome thing to be able to do it for free so that they could have something to involve themselves in after school. And
I would imagine that would certainly have its own challenges. It probably wasn't 100% rosy, and stories that had happy endings and whatnot, and there was a lot of heartbreak even from you kind of seeing kids' lives and things.
Definitely. Big time.
So, and yet, obviously, that drew you in all the more.
Yeah, it was, it just made me, it defined my purpose for being there, that this is why I was there, was because of all the heartache and because of, the sad stories and what people were going through.
It kind of, if you will, focused you on your destiny.
Yeah.
Oh, would you like to hear another cut from your album, perhaps? Shall we?
Sure.
Shall we demonstrate the people? This is the title cut. I'll ask you in a moment. Where and why this came from and all that, but it sounds like that's kind of where you're going with your faith story. So here is the title cut from the new album Destiny by Jeanne Marie.
Hey, little girl on the other side of the radio. At 11, you've known more than any child should ever know. A look in the past can take you down and fast. Skeleton closets full. This is not your destiny. There are way too many reasons you were born and rules, statistics in the make. You're gonna live your life like that.
That's Destiny by Jeanne Marie. Were you talking to me right there, little boy on the other side of the radio?
I might have been. You never know.
little boy. And it sounds to me like you do genuinely feel that that's a ministry that you're doing. You really are connecting with people. It's not just like, hey, look at my great music.
Absolutely. And, when I collaborated with songwriters, I was so vulnerable to just open up to them and say, listen, let me tell you some stories. Let me tell you about this little boy I knew or this little girl, and she was 11. I mean, they were specific stories, so it's a really important song to me.
So people help you write the songs?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And you sing them?
Yes, sir.
Now, Destiny, it says on your album, based on Jeremiah 1:5.
Yes.
Tell us about what is that? In what sense is it based on that?
Just that you're created in God's image, and you were knitted together in your mother's womb by Him specifically, and that you should never feel inferior because there is a God who loves you and who created you for a specific purpose. And that's really what I want to get across to these kids, that you don't have to be what society is telling you to be, that you can be set apart for God and you can be unique because He created you that way, and it's okay to be that way.
Jeanne Marie is our guest on the Busted Halo Show this evening. It's a Rock and Roll Friday on the Busted Halo Show. So it's Robin's very happy when it's Rock and Roll Friday.
Gotta get it in there.
And Jeanne Marie, I'll have to say that we play a decent amount of Christian music here on the show. Every Thursday we spotlight what's new on our other Christian channel. We're a talk radio channel here on Sirius XM, but we do have a channel that plays Christian music, contemporary Christian. We have a couple. We have a gospel channel as well. But I may be going out on a limb here, and maybe I'm not an industry insider, but I would say your sound to me is not reminiscent of what you typically hear of Christian music. This sounds, I mean, it sounds not just unique is probably a trite word to say, but I would say you sound like the kind of music that potentially, certainly these young people would be listening to, and the lyrics are kind of maybe even reaching them by surprise.
Yeah, and that's, that was another goal, was to, like, the thing I saw being in the city is music is such an important part of these kids' lives. Right. They're constantly, the iPods and the music is blaring in their cars, and music absorbs their culture. That's what they are. And
they probably sing along with it out loud and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So when I realized that, I wanted to create a sound that reflected what they would listen to on a daily basis, but instead of all this negativity, let's bring in some positive,
Excellent idea.
So.
Even with the even with the same quality, I know you kind of been moving into the music part of your career, even for a couple of years. Was it finding the kind of songwriters and finding producers and all that? Was that a challenge if you've not done it before? Is it something that's easy for somebody to do? Go, hey, I think I want I want a really good sounding CD, which yours pretty much is.
Well, you know what? This is how awesome God is. Oh. That my husband is my producer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep, and we're just a great team, and I believe that God put us together to do ministry and to reach people, and he's really talented. So that part was not hard. Songwriters, it wasn't hard. We knew people. My husband's very connected, but it was hard for me to be so vulnerable with people that I didn't know and be like, hey, I want you to write a song. Here's my heart. Here's everything. Let me pour it out to you. That was the challenge, but.
Well, let's take a listen to a little more of your husband's fine producing and your vulnerability and your great talent. This song is called Red.
We're talking red and yellow and screaming black and white. Some days our eyes are open wide, wide shut. We laugh and cry when life gets crazy, blue tears. But we bleed the same color, the same color. We all bleed the same color.
The song is called Red from the album Destiny, just released by our guest this evening, Jeanne Marie. That is a powerful song, and now I think what you're talking about when you're talking about being vulnerable with a songwriter, does that come from some personal experience?
Well, yes, a very personal experience. My husband is African American, so I've dealt with discrimination that way from people, and it's just so silly to me because when it's just hard to be in a community. The community that I worked in was predominantly African American and Puerto Rican, and I was, this little Italian girl in there, and so you experience a lot of hostility, and it's just something. And the same with the social class. You see that a lot. If you don't have a certain type of car or a certain, clothing, that
Sure.
you're not accepted. And in all reality, it really is so silly to think that way when God created us as the human race, and He created us perfect in His image. So.
And I would imagine that in your experience in the inner city, maybe not literally right there at the after-school program, but kids live some tough lives, and you probably experienced some kids that shed some blood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, the album is called Destiny, and Jeanne Marie, I have to be honest with you, my producer, Robin Gould, is a rock and roll aficionado, and she came to me and she said, this girl's good. We got to have her on the show.
Well, thank you, Robin.
Thank you. And I like that. I really like that it's got that flavor that does make your ears perk up. And I think it is important to have something that is a little different and catches kids' ears, because it is hard to reach kids above McDonald's commercials and Twittering and whatever else kids are doing, and I think that you have definitely found something that that you are good at, and is definitely your ministry.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well done.
Well,
all for God's glory. So.
Well, thank you, and thanks for joining us here on the Busted Halo Show. We wish you great success, not for the sake of success.